Arr, mateys! Welcome to Miss Marty's Craft Room Reading. Arr! I thought I would go with the pirate theme to go with our spelling words. R sound. A-R. Flip this up so I can read to you because I can't see with it on my eye. Henry's Pirate Surprise. Henry's Uncle Richard was a toy maker and lived above his shop. Henry loved to visit his uncle. He would always surprise him with new toys. Then he would ask Henry to play with them over the weekend. "You are my favorite chief toy tester. It's a very important job." This time his uncle had a surprise for him. On a large table stood an enormous wooden ship. Wow, a pirate ship! It's amazing! This is the Stinking Rose, the finest pirate galleon to sail the 7 seas. But this is not the surprise. Really? But it's fabulous! What could be more surprising than this? Asked Henry. "I think that honor would fall to me," said a voice from inside the ship. "The ship can talk?" Henry's mouth fell open. "The ship doesn't talk," his uncle started to explain, but then the door opened on the deck and a tiny pirate captain walked into view, took off his hat with a flourish and bowed to Henry. "Captain Eightpiece at your service." Henry couldn't believe his eyes. "This is the best toy you have ever made, Uncle Richard." "Henry, Captain Eightpiece is real, and so is the rest of his crew." "Absolutely," cried Eightpiece. "My crew and I have been looking for a good ship. Fortunately, we came to your uncle's shop and found this wonderful vessel. We sail tomorrow." "But you can't be real. You're only 6 inches high." 6.5 exactly, Captain Eightpiece said. "Well, if I'm not real, then you won't be able to fill this, will you?" He took out his cutlass and marched over to Henry and poked him in the hand. "Ouch!" shouted Henry. "He did that to me too," smiled Henry's uncle. "Then he paid me for his ship with gold coins. We're going to help Captain Eightpiece and his crew launch the ship tomorrow." "Let me introduce you to my crew, dear boy," said the captain. "Men, on deck now!" he roared, and 4 tiny men appeared on the deck of the ship. "This is Barney Call, the first mate. He is second in command to me. And Lippy Pete, the bosun. He makes sure all the crew do their jobs properly. Periwinkle is the second mate and is in charge of navigation. And finally, Razor Clam, the helmsman. He mans the helm, which means he steers the ship." Captain Eightpiece looked up at Henry. "We could do with a captain, boy, but unfortunately you are a bit, well, big. However, we've got lots of jobs to do. If you want to help, that'd be nice." So Henry scrubbed the deck with a toothbrush. He stacked marbles that could be used to fire in the cannon. He put a pirate flag on top of the mast. He filled matchboxes with flour, cereal, and other foods ready for the long journey. Henry stayed with the pirate crew until bedtime. The crew told him about their adventures sailing the high seas, battling scary monsters, and finding treasure. He could have listened to them all night. When Uncle Richard told him it was time for bed, Henry reluctantly bid the pirates good night and promised to help them launch the Stinking Rose in the river in the morning. Then he went up to bed and was asleep in minutes. A noise downstairs woke Henry in the middle of the night. He heard a door squeak and then the sound of muffled voices. Somebody was breaking into the toy shop. He crept out of bed, tiptoed out of his room, and across the corridor to his uncle's room. Then a voice from downstairs drifted up to Henry. "Whoa, Dave, look at that pirate ship. That would fetch some dollars. Let's just take that and get out of here." The two burglars were now struggling with the stinking Rose. "Help me lift this ship up," wheezed the shorter one. The larger thief bent over the ship. "Ouch! Something bit my hand." "Shh, you're a big baby," the smaller one said, "but put your back into it." "Ow! Something bit me too. Ouch! And again." Henry tried not to laugh. The crew were poking him with the burglars' hands with the swords. Then Henry heard the buzzing of the engine. He looked up and saw a remote-control helicopter. Captain Eightpiece was throwing tiny bags of flour into the thieves' eyes. "Stop, you scoundrels!" Captain Eightpiece shouted. "Quick, run! Let's get out of here!" cried the thieves. But when the burglars tried to run, they tripped over Razor and that had tied their shoelaces together. "Yahoo! Henry, wake up your uncle and call the police," called Captain Eightpiece, jumping onto the larger burglar. Razor jumped onto the shorter one's chin and threatened with his cutlass. "I must be seeing things. There are pirate pixies in here," croaked the big thief as he fainted. "Oh, look, they are poking him in the face and really getting him." Henry's uncle had already called the police when Henry went to get him. He and Henry went downstairs to find the two moaning burglars tied up. But there was no sign of the pirates. Only if you listened very carefully could you hear laughter coming from the stinking Rose. The police arrived and took the burglars away. They congratulated Henry and his uncle for catching the two men and told them that they would be rewarded. The police asked if they knew why the burglars kept talking about 6-inch high pirates, but Henry and Uncle Richard pretended not to know. The next morning, Henry and Uncle Richard carried the stinky Rose to the river and helped Captain Eightpiece launch the ship. It floated perfectly. Captain Eightpiece thanked Henry and his uncle for the ship. "Good spot of fun last night. If you ever grow smaller, you can definitely be my cabin boy." And with a flourish of his hat and a graceful bow, Captain Eightpiece jumped onto the stinking Rose, and he and his crew sailed off toward the 7 seas and new adventures. The end. Well, that was kind of fun. Put my pirate eye patch back and say, "Arr, going to be leaving you." Bye.